Guys, welcome to the first in a very long time of live streams. As you know, guys, my camera's a bit wonky. Hang on, let's just sort that out now. Now, whatever. But yeah, hi guys, we are live back again. My name is Blut084, BLUT084, BLUT084. There's the camera. And if you haven't been joining me so far, guys, that is because I haven't been live as much. I've had some builders and they're not here today, so I thought I'd take that opportunity to carry on with the illustrations that I have been doing. If you don't know what character I'm going to be doing today, it is kind of not off Jazza what Jazza said. If you know Draw with Jazza, now known as Jazza. If you know him, oh, we got some comments coming in. Give me a second, I'm going to pull those up. But yeah, if you know of that of the UCD, I have been working on my own personal character, and his name is Blue Angel. If you haven't seen that so far, you've got lots of catching up to do. I've drawn him, made him out of polymer clay, and I've even made him in VR. Last week, no, was it last week? Oh no, the week before, because the builders have been here for about 2 weeks. The scaffold's still here, and they still haven't done the roof, so they're still going to be coming back. So I don't know how many live streams I'm going to be doing this week. This is probably going to be a lengthy one, just because of that reason. I'm going to be recording all of this, and I'll record everything else as always, on the PS4, which we're on now. So before I do, Alexa, set me 50 minutes on a timer.
50 minutes, starting now.
Okay, so yeah, we've got that going on. Yeah, I'm going to be carrying on with the characters that I... Why you've got no connection? I'm going to be continuing on with the characters of my characters. Why hasn't this got any internet? Sorry about this, we're actually live. I was going to let that sort itself out. But yeah, we did Blue Angel. There is a quick shot of him. That's Blue Angel. That is my OC character, my original character I've been working on for, well, ever since I drew this horrendous piece of artwork here. That's his original form, and that's what it looks like now. He's been made out of polymer clay. There's something going on with my thing. I can't get any comments coming up for some reason. Maybe I need to restart this. Give me a second. But yeah, that's my original character. And I made a sidekick for him. I've even made a villain for him, which I'm going to show you now. Which book is his sidekick in? Sidekick will be in this book. Okay, I'll explain a little bit more. The beginning of the story, I thought I wasn't going to make a sidekick to begin with. And then I thought, do you know what? I need the villain. The hero needs a villain. There is an epic story going on, so if you want to find out that story, keep tuned, because I'm going to be making a full video of each character, what they are, what they mean in the story, and what they sort of represent in the thing. If you want to find out a little bit more, go and check out all the other streams, because I do kind of tell you what the character is each time I do the artwork. And I cannot find the picture for love nor money. Where are you? I know I did it. Okay, it's further in the book. There we go. Now, the villain, or the evil side, or the evil one, the other, started out like this, and I've gone on a little bit more with the character that I'm designing today, from this picture. That isn't what he looks like. That is what he was found like, because he was defeated. Shut up. He was defeated, and he was buried in the ground, put in the ground, and then left in the ground by Blue Angel, because he was his evil side. Still working on that, whether it's going to be evil side or a multiple, universe switchover. I kind of like the idea of a world where the world stops spinning and one half is nice and lush, and the other side is dead and dark, kind of thing like that. If you saw the VR version of the Morningscape and of the Blue Angel, you'll know what I mean, because I've got one side's good, one side's bad. I've like a portal in the middle of it. I did explain a little bit in the live stream that I did there. But this is what the other looks like. Comparison of Blue Angel. Let's get the Blue Angel up again. The comparison is, he's nice and good, and he's evil. Right, his wings. He has wings, feathers, and all that, and has the great thing. He's lost his wings and feathers because of death. I don't know. But yeah, he's the villain. He's the good guy. And they kind of exist at the same time, but not at the same time, like in a different universe. I think I'm going to go with universe. What do you think of that? Yeah, those are the two villains. I mean, that's the villain. I am going to be doing a sidekick for the great villain, Lothar, or the other. I think Lothar. What do you reckon? The other or Lothar, as in the other, all spelled as one word? That's kind of what I'm going with. Let's get rid of that one as well. Because I did a sidekick last week, or the week before. It's kind of been spotty where I've been doing stuff, guys, because because I said the builder's been in. I haven't really been able to do anything at all. I haven't even been able to game, so it's like, what shall I do? I'm faff. So I went into VR and faffed and made a character. Oh, finished the character I was making here. This here is Morningscape, the sidekick to Blue Angel. Again, if you want to, I'll go and quickly grab those Polymer Clay more figurines. That's a skateboard. So yeah, I made Blue Angel, as you know. If you want to check out how I made that one is in the Creation Station playlist. Same for this one here, how I made this one. Made it from armature, then to everything else, painted and everything for all stages. Got a little tail there. And he always has a skateboard, and that's kind of why he has a. And my son came up with the idea of him holding a skateboard, so I was like, yep, that sounds like a good idea. So you can sort of sit him down, stand him anywhere. But today, I am going to be designing. Well, I've already designed the others, Lothar's. I'll let you decide. It's kind of like Blue Angel. I really can't decide what I want to call him. I'm going to call him Lothar. Is it patchy today? Being patchy. Oh, Harry. Hey, Harry. How you doing? Sorry I couldn't get the comments up quick enough. Pain in the ass, that thingy. But yeah, we made the sidekick for Blue Angel, and now Lothar needs a sidekick because what happens on this side of the world happens on this side of the world. Well, this is why I was going with a bit of a multiple portal thing. You know what I mean? It's like what's the multiverse kind of things, because it's popular at the moment. And like I thought, that's not a bad idea, because I want to have a good side, I want to have a bad side, but I don't want to do the bog standard. Oh, this is I'm your father. Oh, I'm your son. No, blah 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 crap. I want to do like sort of have it so it's evil and good, and they mash together. I think the idea I've got is the world's going to be here, other world's going to be here, and they kind of smash together. But by smashing together, the two worlds collide, the two universes collide, but they don't kill each other. They just sort of merge together, and they can't unmerge. I'm glad I'm recording this. They can't unmerge, so they're stuck together, and they've been like that for many, many eons, should we say, or years, or whatever. They've been like that for many, many years. So they're sort of they've gotten used to each other, but the only way to pass to each other, to talk and to sort of communicate and things like that, is a portal, and maybe portal on each end of the world, sort of a north and a south portal, maybe an east and a west portal. We'll find things out. We'll see how that sort of evolves and things like that. But I have been doing some artwork again off stream and off video and everything. This is if you remember the picture before of the skeleton. There's a skeleton, and the person, when I first drew the skeleton, I was like, who would have found him? Would it be a excavation? The first idea was like he's found on the Earth, and I thought, nah, it's a bit boring. Why should we stay on Earth, or should we go to another planet and sort of create something from there? That's kind of where I'm going to. But yeah, there's Lothar, and this here is well, it's Morningscape, so I thought Dusk Skimmer, or something like that. Like a Dusk Skimmer. So yeah, that's Dusk Skimmer as an alternative version, night and a day, something like that. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be creating today, or I'm going to be inking it today, because I've already sketched it. It took me about 2 to 3 days to actually get a decent idea in my head and what I wanted with it. This is just the beginning, and next week I will draw the full version of of Dusk Skimmer. Got to remember that name because I actually like that name. So Dusk Skimmer. I'll be drawing a full version, but today we're going to be inking out the original picture because I'm designing a story, a maybe possible comic. I might even try and make a little animation. It all depends on whether if you guys out there are going to help me by hitting that subscribe button, ding the bell for notifications, and leaving a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave those thumbs up, guys, because they do help me a hell of a lot. So don't forget to consider subscribing and hitting that bell. So you know when I'm going to be live. And if you can't watch everything when I'm live, don't worry, guys, because I always record everything and I always put it in a shorter thing. So just so if you want to see the illustration itself and you don't want to listen to me waffle on. I will release that next week, or if not the week after, because I want to work on these pictures and hopefully the builders won't be here tomorrow. But if they are here, what I'll do is I'll record everything anyway, because everything's set up now. I'll record everything and then get everything sorted out and set for you. But that's the character, Dusk Dawn. We're going to be inking him out today. We're going to be listening to some more Comic Storian today. If you don't know Comic Storian now, they are a brilliant thing that you can go and check out on the YouTube. If you've ever wanted a comic that you can't really buy, you know, it's those times at the moment, or it's just a general normal for you. You can't really buy everything you want, which is fair enough, you know. So go to Comic Storian. You can listen to any comic from DC, any comic from Marvel, and a few abstract ones as well. If you're into anime, they have a few, but they kind of got blocked from doing anime. So sorry about that. Yeah, they're going to be doing. They do a lot of those. We're going to be listening to Batman Beyond, Rebirth, Robin, and Joker Beyond. So we're going to be seeing what that brings us. I'm not a big fan of any sort of set hero, but I do like Batman. I like the Batman Beyond series. If you watched that as a kid, I was a kid. That's right, it's that old. I used to watch it when I was a teenager, and I'd probably watch it now if it was still on, but it's not. Which is a shame, really, because I kind of liked it. It sort of fizzled out, and it didn't. It sort of. I'll give you a more explanation on that, but that's not my characters. You can go and check out Comic Storian for that. We're going to be listening to some of that while I illustrate, and while I illustrate, you can listen in. Don't forget, I've got the comments open, so if you would like to leave me a comment, all you got to do is type it in the comment section. If you can't type it in the comment section for some reason because you haven't signed in, sign in, subscribe, and leave me some comments. But otherwise, you can go over to TikTok and you can go over to Instagram, Blut084, BLUT084, same name, different place. But if you're on TikTok, put a hyphen or a full stop between each letter, and that's how you'll find me. But if you're on Instagram, you can go and check me out over on Instagram. It's the same name, just take the and out of Art and Games. And the same thing for over on the other one. Right, let's get some illustration doing. Let's get some drawing. I've already sketched it, and I've already I've already illustrated and I've already sketched. So now it's time for inking, detailing, and all that stuff, that good stuff. So while I do that, you can listen to this, and I'll faff around.
Welcome to the full story.
Playing from Galaxy N20.
I'm your narrator for today's
enough.
You see, here at Comic Story, we take some of your favorite comic books, video games, and movies, and we tell you the stories that happen within them. Now, those stories may get broken up over multiple weeks, or multiple days, or various months. And once that's done, we like to turn them into these full story videos. Yeah. Videos that are 30 minutes.
Okay, so turn that camera down.
And they give you the entire story, the full story, if you will. Today we're going to be covering Batman Beyond Rebirth to Joker Beyond. You see, when they brought back Batman Beyond, they brought back Terry, who had been missing for quite some time in the future. And they also introduced a Joker Beyond. But it wasn't until 25 issues later did we get resolution to that. Today, we're going to tell you what happened.
You can watch what I'm listening to here as well, guys.
Even though things never change, there is one thing.
Turn it up so you can see it.
Him becoming Batman. However, our story didn't just start with Terry kicking in a bus window to come stop the Joker's thugs and slam their heads into the ground before throwing them out of the window. It all started one night.
My favorite ink
Him
pens.
and Dana were confronted by the Joker's thugs and him jumping on a bike to lead them
over
away.
there.
While they chased him, Terry McGinnis turned down an old road and he almost hit an old man. But that old man wasn't just anyone. He was Bruce Wayne. Bruce helped Terry take down the thugs, and afterwards, he helped Bruce back into his house to help him get his medication. While sleeping from the meds, Terry happened upon a strange clock, and behind it, discovered a staircase into a wondrous cave. One he
Keep that just in
realized
case.
belonged to the man
We're just going to be
Bruce
inking
Wayne, who was
today.
really Batman. Though not happy about Terry discovering his secret at
With
first,
this one.
Bruce coached him through taking down his father's killer. Back in the current times, though, Terry
And we'll
brings
sketch
down a
tomorrow
bustling
instead of
Joker, and
doing,
he speaks with Commissioner Barbara Gordon about
normally
it.
sketch on a
However,
Monday.
while talking to her,
I mean,
they
not
begin to hear
sketch,
the
shade,
Joker's
sorry.
thugs
Yeah, so
laugh,
it's
and then their mouths begin to foam up.
the joy.
Terry says that it's the Joker Venom. Is it possible that the actual Joker is still around? And Barbara tells him that the Joker's been dead for years. Don't turn into Bruce Wayne pining on an old case. Elsewhere, though, Dana walks with an officer to continue her work as a social worker. As they knock on a door to speak with
I don't
Miss
talk too much,
Fortune,
guys.
she
Do
tells them that they
remember
shouldn't
that
come
we've got
because
this
it's
playing in the
sick.
background, so
Suddenly,
that's what's
an
there to
extended
keep you
boxing match
entertained.
shoots out, knocking out the officer, and the two members of the Joker gang tell Dana that the woman was
Of course, I pressed the friggin'. And now you know I don't unlock my phone. Lovely.
trying to say that this
Trying
is
to turn it up.
Joker's town, and the boss won't tolerate their kind around here. Back with Terry, he
Come
and his
on,
brother
you
Matt
fucking
begin to
ass.
unpack in their new apartment, while Matt tells him that it's so cool that he
There we
was
go.
saving those people. Terry says that it's cool that he's being back, and that he's lucky that Max was able to take care of things while he was gone. Matt tells him that if it wasn't for Spellbinder locking Terry down, he wouldn't have had to take care of himself. But what's important now is that Terry is back. As Terry and Matt joke, Max takes out her phone, stating that she can't believe he's here. Dana, she's been taken by the Jokers. Terry suits up and he begins to head out, but as he goes, he begins to think about how him and Dana used to be close, but with Batman becoming a bigger thing in his life, she's become less important. While Spellbinder took him off the grid, everyone assumed that he was dead, and Dana moved on. So what is he supposed to say when he sees her? Hey, I'm back from the grave, and I'm Batman. But as Terry begins to ask where he can find the Jokers, a fist flies out, punching him, stating, "You don't look fun." A giant member of the Joker's gang knocks Terry around and then begins to pull down the wall over him and begins to laugh. However, over in the No Laughing Matter club, Dana sits in a chair telling the man before her that she knows who he is. He is Carter Wilson, and he tells her that that was his name as a child. Now, he goes by Terminal. She asks why he brought her here, and he tells her that it wasn't actually him. Someone else gave the order. The real man in charge. Terminal then points to a window stating that he's raising him from the dead. The Joker. Under a pile of bricks, the giant Joker thugs pull him down, and Terry tells himself, Big Batman was supposed to be fun, but now I can hardly breathe or move. Max tries to call out to him over the comms, but there's too much debris on top of him, and Terry can't even respond. The Joker thugs are beating him down, and that's the beginning of our story. Some of the Jokers start shouting to burn the pile with Batman in it. However, Terry has a new idea. With the little movement that he has in his hand, Terry begins to drop small explosive charges into a pipe next to him. As the charge makes its way into the ground, it explodes, launching Terry out of the pile of bricks. Back over in the back.
Alright, we're getting there. Again, I'm keeping the same idea with the wing.
Got a clear picture now, so go get him, bro. The giant.
Just gonna pause that a second. As I normally do, what I'm doing, guys, is the wings that he has, because of the original, the evil villain, his wings, he's come back to life. You saw at the beginning, but their wings are. Well, their wings are bones, but they're the things that they be able to fly with, like a wrap or a thing. It's like a leather wing thing that they wear, like a cloak. They wear the cloak, and then when they're ready to fly and fly off, they grab the cloak, spread it out, and fly off. That's what I'll explain a little bit more about the character, but I'm sort of just illustrating at the moment and getting some drawing done. Again, I'm recording this, guys, so everything I draw you will be able to see at a later date, just in a blah blah blah.
Thug runs in swinging at Terry, but Terry says that he may not support the whole Joker's thing, but as Terry punches the thug, he realizes it's like punching a brick wall. Terry then asks if he wouldn't hit a guy with glasses. The thug begins to punch him into a nearby truck, and Terry says, I guess I'll take that as a yes. The thug continues to beat on Terry, and all Terry can do is think about how he's out of practice. This shouldn't be happening. The thug then walks over, picking Terry up and squeezing and breaking his ribs. He struggles for a little bit, but with not much success, so he takes out a pair of batarangs and cuts the tubes, feeding into the thug's muscles. With no juice left, the thug stumbles back, and Terry grabs a sewer lid to hit him. But then he hears more of the Joker's gang coming. They begin to chant, kill the bat! And they swing their knives and their bats. Max. Terry manages to fend off the attackers, but one cuts into the back of his shoulder. More and more thugs begin to crawl out, all grabbing and holding Terry down. In a desperate attempt to break free, Terry releases an electric shock, throwing the thugs back. However, it doesn't take long for them to get back up and bring Terry down again. With no chance of winning the fight, Terry rockets himself into the air and he heads back to the Batcave. As Matt watches on the computer, he asks, how could Terry let them do that to him? Max tells him to give him a break, the odds were overwhelming, and Terry steps in saying no. What it came down to is the fact that I wasn't ready to become Batman again. I only recently came back from being dead. He got arrogant instead of recognizing the seriousness of it all and handling it like Bruce taught him. Max asks him, who? And Terry says Wayne. Matt jumps in, stating that was supposed to be a secret, but Terry hugs his brother Matt, telling him it's okay. They can trust Max, since he brought her here anyway. He goes on. This job might be a little bit too much for Batman. And Matt sulks at that response, telling him, don't be a quitter. A few moments later, Terry calls out that he just said that this is a fight that Batman couldn't do. And he steps out wearing clown makeup, telling Matt, I didn't say anything about not joining the Jokers. A little while later, the Batmobile flies through the Joker's town, firing down on some of the thugs from the Joker's club. As the thugs fire back, the Batmobile shoots off into the sky, and Matt shouts, look out! Max tells him that she hasn't had much experience flying this thing, so give her a break. Plus, they have to make their plan look legit. Back on the rooftop, the large Joker thug from before grabs an air conditioning unit and throws it up into the air, hitting the Batmobile. As Max tries to stabilize the Batmobile, Terminal steps up onto the roof with a gun to Dana, shouting that unless he's gone in 5 seconds, the girl dies! A voice then tells Terminal, why let him go? There's no way that you could bring him down with those dinky pop guns. Terminal looks up and sees Terry. And Terry goes on stating, I'm a friend with a toy that rips. Terry lines up his shot and he fires a bazooka at the Batmobile. Terminal watches as the missile flies through the air, hitting the Batmobile, and he asks, you. And Terry stops him, telling him, I got you. You just needed the right tool for the right job. Over in the Batmobile, Matt says the fireworks look like a real explosion, and then Max flies down onto the ground. Terminal continues to watch, stating, that can't be that easy. And Terry asks, what, you think the Bat bails? Terminal tells him that he's not sure, and then the giant thug from before starts to crawl back up onto the roof. Terry helps him up, and the thug says that he's never seen it before. And Terry tells him, I'm just a friend, been in criminal modification therapy. Terminal steps up to him, telling him, no one just gets to drop in and claim he's in the club. Terry goes on to tell him, I figured my last name might help me open up the clubhouse's doors. My father was Trey Malone, though you may have known him as Matches. Terminal tells him, I didn't know Matches had a kid. And as they go on, Dana listens, specifically listening to Terry, and realizing that is Terry and he's alive. Afterwards, Terminal takes Terry and the rest and they head over to the No Laughing Matter Club, where he begins to get to know Terry. But while Dana tries to figure out why Terry would be back after so long, she finds herself not being watched and she slips down through the back. Everyone does start to take notice, so Terminal calls up
You all wear masks, so this is a mask.
Before he can go, though, Terry steps in front of him, telling him to give him a
On
chance
dark
to show
side,
his talents.
not the good
Terminal
side.
tells him, alone you don't.
That's the idea of this one. I'm going to leave that because I don't know what the face is going to look like yet. I just sort of put that as what it might look like.
The person asks if she's out of her mind, and when she looks back up, Dana says that she knows who he is. Please, just don't. Terry grabs her and tells her, be quiet, I'm here to help you. Now just play along and we'll get you out of here alive. Some of the other thugs show up shouting that it's time to kill her, but Terry stops them, telling them, sure, but I'm pretty sure we have to ask the boss first. He was keeping her alive for something, right? Back in the club, Terry and the rest of the gang enter, and Terminal says how blessed they are to have someone so talented. Just fall into our laps. Go ahead and take her upstairs. Terry begins pulling Dana away, but once they get upstairs, Dana stops him, asking if it's really him. How is it even possible that Terry is back from the dead? Terry grabs her, telling her to relax, and he'll explain everything when the time is right. Right now, they just have to wait for his backup. As Dana gets close, she says that she still can't believe it's him. If only he knew what the Jokers were really up to. Terry asks her, what do you mean? And Dana goes on to explain that Terminal is actually their old friend Carter from back in high school. He always wanted to prove that he was the smartest, and now he's going to prove it by bringing the dead back to life. Dana unlocks the screen before them, and Terry sees the Joker's body. She continues, yes, though cryogenically preserved, Terminal is on the verge of bringing him back. Terry stares, asking, why would he want to bring back the most heinous man ever? Terminal's voice then asks, why? Just to prove that I can. They both turn back, and Terry and Dana see Terminal holding an old hollow photo of them in high school, and Terminal stating, I knew you back in high school. I was happy when I heard that you died. Terminal then throws the photo into the wall, breaking it, and he shouts, what's your story then? Are you a cop? More of a threat? Terry pulls back his arm and he grits his teeth, telling him, I'm the guy who's gonna stop you. But before he can punch, the large thug from before punches into Terry, telling him, Terminal tells him, you can't be a cop. You're working with Batman. That would be the only way to explain this stunt from before. While Terminal goes on, Terry fights back against the big thug, but before reaching Dana, Terminal punches him, and the large thug grabs and locks him into place. Terminal then says, it's a shame that you won't get to see what comes from my efforts. It's time for you both to go to the wall. A short while later, Matt sneaks closer to the club when he sees Terry and Dana hanging from the club building upside down. The large thug asks if the pebbles are ready, and another one says, yep, filled with acid. He then tells everyone to fire, and soon all of the men release their slingshots, shooting acid-filled pebbles up at Terry and Dana. Meanwhile, back inside, Terminal stares at the Joker's room and he tells the janitor to go on and leave.
Sorry, I can't show you that bit, guys.
When the janitor leaves, Terminal heads into the
Just pause that there. Sophie Pervine. Pervine, that's a nice name. It looks good. Thank you very much. And what is it? I would explain the whole thing about it, but I did like 15 minutes at the very beginning of the live stream. If you want to go and if you want to check it out, the best thing to do is rewind and watch it again. But just a quick intro. Again, I'm creating a Blue Angel character. I have created a Blue Angel character. We made his sidekick. We've drawn him. We've drawn these. We've made them out of polymer clay, and we've made them in VR. If you want to go check out the rest of these pictures and illustrations and clay models and all the rest, this is the continuation. My next step is to make an evil version. We've already made the villain of the Blue Angel. We're now making the villain for the sidekick of Blue Angel, the other. That's what we're doing right now. I am kind of just illustrating the beginnings of the story of the other, and that's who this is. We're listening to some comic historian and watching Batman Beyond. That's why I'm a little bit quiet. I'm kind of like tracing over everything I've drawn and getting it ready for detailing, really.
Room and he says, can't let anyone see you and realize that you're in fact alive. He holds out the Joker's hand to scan over the belongings, and he says, I'm sure you would appreciate the greatest joke of them all. The device scans, and Terminal goes on. They all think that I'm bringing the Joker back to life, but the truth is, he's long dead. The scan completes, and it says, transfer complete. You have received payment from Bruce Wayne. Back outside, all of the members of the Joker's gang begin to fire their slingshots, pelting Terry with acid-filled pellets. While everyone continues to bring more pellets over to shoot, Matt sneaks around the crowd and he makes his way into the club. Terry continues to try and struggle, and he manages to pull out a knife, and after cutting himself free, Terry starts to work on Dana's ropes, and the large thug shouts, no one even frisked him! Once free, Terry tells Dana to hold onto him while he pulls them back, and as they get closer, one of the thugs leads over the
I'll colour this one in as well at a later date, guys. I just want to draw this out first.
The other man starts to take Matt's bag, but before he can, Terry runs in, punching him to the ground. He shouts at Matt, asking what he's even doing here, and Matt hands over the bag, telling him, we found something. Terry pulls out another batsuit, and Dana stares, and then asks if he's... Terry tells her that he didn't want her to find out this way. He was going to find the right moment to tell her, but now is not the time to discuss it. Just then, the Jokers begin to fill the rooftop as Terry jumps in at the attackers. The Jokers turn their guns towards Dana and Matt. Without a second thought, Terry jumps in the way, shielding them. He wasn't 100% sure how the new suit would work, but it did seem to do the trick of blocking the shots. One of the Jokers shouts that they need to get the roasters, and Terry begins to think that he should probably end this. From his belt, he pulls out 2 small pills, and he asks if these could really be grenades. So he throws them, and after they explode, he says, I'm kind of glad I didn't swallow those. As more and more thugs fall, the large thug grabs Dana and shouts for Terry not to get any closer, and Terry asks, closer? I don't need to be. From the back of Terry's hand, a flap opens and small batarangs fire out, and they land right into the thug's arm. He stumbles backwards, so then Terry runs in, punching him, telling him, we met the other day after you buried me, which clearly was not very neighborly of you. Terry finishes up, and then down below, the janitor runs in telling Terminal that Batman is here, and he just took out the whole crew. Terminal says, I can't be interfered with now. Go get the flyer. Back up top, after knocking everyone out, Dana asks, how long has he been... And Terry tells her, since high school. She realizes that he's been lying for years, and then she tells him that if he says he didn't tell her for her own good, she'll... But Matt stops them, saying that they can deal with this stuff later. Terminal's downstairs. The three of them run down the stairs into the cryo room where the Joker was being held. However, as Terry looks at the scanners, he sees that the person being held there was actually Bruce Wayne, which means Bruce is alive. Bruce was thought to be lost when Brother Eye first attacked. The bunker was attacked, and when Terry went to search, he couldn't find anyone alive. Not a single person. A short while later, Terry headed over to the Wayne Powers building, and Max asked what could Terminal want with Bruce. He says that his guess would be that he's looking for the Keystone, something that no one should even know about. The Keystone was the world's ultimate intel gathering device, and if Terminal can get his hands on that... Meanwhile, down in the building, Terminal says that he's on the cusp of having everything. The janitor asks what could be more important than bringing back the Joker, and Terminal walks off telling him, "You're too much of a simpleton to realize where we are. We're here for one thing." He goes on, "I told the Jokers that I was going to bring back the Joker so that he could amass an army of acolytes, all to keep Wayne alive." The janitor then asks, "That means that this man isn't the Joker?" And Terminal tells him, "No, that's Bruce Wayne. Why would anyone want to bring that Joker back? The world is far better without him." As the two continue to walk, the janitor pulls Bruce and he asks, "Why would you want to do this then? To take all of Wayne's fortunes?" Terminal tells him that's part of it, but the real goal is the Keystone. The door that they are standing in front of then asks for an authentication scan, so Terminal props Bruce's body up for the retina scan. Once it's done, it says that the subject is fully authenticated. "Welcome back, Bruce Wayne." It then opens, and Terminal sees Terry and shouts, "Batman!" Terry tells him, "Yup. Once I realized that you had Wayne under your control, I figured that you would be smart enough to know about the Keystone." Terry then runs in, tackling and throwing Terminal to the ground. He jumps up, telling him that he thought that he was a man of limited resources. "But you were wrong." Terminal pulls his belt off, wrapping it around Terry's neck, and Terry says that a belt won't, but then a current runs through the belt, shocking Terry. Terminal shouts that he won't be cheated when he's this close. However, as the two of them fight, the janitor takes out Bruce's tubes, telling him, "It's time to wake up. I wouldn't want you to miss what's about to happen, old friend." The janitor then pushes Bruce's hover chair towards the open windows, and Bruce mumbles, "That voice." He pushes the chair out the window, and Terry charges in, jumping after it. Once he's fully awake, Bruce tells Terry, "Forget me. We can't let those two escape." After grabbing the chair before it lands, Bruce shouts, "I told you to leave me." And Terry tells him, "It's nice to see you too, old buddy." While the janitor flies Terminal away, on another building, Max tells Matt that they're almost within range. He then locks on with his rocket launcher and tells her not to worry. They aren't getting anywhere. And he fires. The rocket flies, hitting the aircraft.
Give me a sec, I can't remember what it looks like.
And it shouldn't get too far. Back in the Wayne's Powers building, Terry gets Bruce back up without any talk. Bruce says that they need to get to the terminal. Terry takes off his mask, telling him that he just needs to relax, be human for 1 second, and embrace the fact that, I don't know, you're alive? For once, the bad guys can wait. Bruce tries to stop him, but Terry goes on, telling him, "It's a great day. You're back and the Joker's still dead." But Bruce stares at Terry's eyes and he tells him about that. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Gotham,
there we go.
the terminal begins to look
That's
over
what
the
I'm.
aircraft
There's where the
space
story's
and the general
continuing
they need to get
from.
this back into the air.
All in the same
Janitor
place.
tells him, "No
And
doubt.
the sidekick is the one that's
You are a fool
digging
to
him up.
think that you can beat Wayne." While still looking at the ship, Terminal tells him, "Talk like that again and you're a dead man. Now get a crowbar so that we can take this thing apart." The janitor grabs a crowbar and he says, "It was crazy to use the Joker's name like that. You should know. Besides, no one uses the Joker's name." The janitor then lifts the crowbar up, and he begins beating Terminal's head in until there's nothing but blood and brain tissue dropping from the end of it. He then begins to pull down his hood and he says, "No one uses my name!" With Bruce Wayne finally recovering and returning to the Batcave, he notices something different. Matt, Terry's younger brother, tells him that Terry has kept everything the same as before. He didn't change a thing. Bruce looks around and tells him, "No, Terry didn't keep it the same. The Batcave was never a hangout for friends and family." Terry shouts to the upper levels, telling him that that's not fair. They just didn't know that he was alive. And Bruce scoffs, telling him, "No insult intended, just making an observation." But as Terry goes on with Bruce, telling him how good it is to see him again, Dana interrupts them and says that it's clear that they have a lot of catching up to do. Besides, Bruce isn't the only one here trying to adjust to the information that has currently been revealed. Terry hugs Bruce, telling him that it's good to have him back, but they can talk later. First, he has to go drop off Dana. Dana is his former girlfriend who didn't know that he was still alive, nor did she know that he is Batman Beyond. So basically, she got a lot of information in the last episode. Meanwhile, over at the GPD, Commissioner Barbara Gordon receives the identity reports of the person that they found. Carter Wilson, aka Terminal, was savagely beat to death with a crowbar. The officer says that they currently have no leads, but it may have been somebody who just happened to be around when his flyer went down. Barber stares at the report stating that Terminal was too smart for that. It would have to have been somebody on the inside, someone that he trusted. But before Barber can go any further, the door that she was reaching for is kicked in as she's knocked to the ground. She goes to grab her gun, telling the person that they've made a big mistake, but then she sees that it's the former League of Assassins member, Karari, standing in the doorway. Karari tells Barber that her intentions are peaceful, but she requires immediate assistance. She must speak with Batman. Back in the Batcave, Bruce goes over the information on Terminal, and Terry's younger brother Matt asks Bruce if it's true. Is he really Batman? Bruce gives a low-sounding grunt, and Matt says that's awesome, it's good to have him back. Terry was having kind of a rough time without someone to guide him, like when his suit got shredded and they couldn't fix it. Luckily, they found an old experimental suit down here in the Batcave, and Bruce pauses. What suit? Describe it. Matt says that he can just pull up a file on it. All they know about it is that it worked great. It helped Terry clear out the Jokers. The image appears on the screen and Bruce looks at it and he says that that is X7. And Matt says by the tone he's using, he sounded a bit worried. Bruce stares at the Terminal and says, that suit was a prototype, one so dangerous to its wearer that it might get Terry killed. Over at the GPD rooftop, Barbara gets ready to turn on the bat signal, but before she can turn it on, she needs to know why. Why is Karari here? And she tells her that they have no time for an explanation, so Barbara says that she's gonna need a little more than that. That's when a voice tells the two women that it's too late for that, and a group of assassins from the League of Assassins appear. Meanwhile, in another part of Gotham, Terry drops Dana off at her apartment, and he says that he's sorry for not telling her earlier that he's Batman. The line
Okay, so we got the dusting brushes and things like that. Again, he's being excavated.
Every second of being Batman. Terry sighs, telling her, maybe, but he can't do it Bruce's way. Right now, all he wants to do is be human again. Dana leans in and tells Terry that he's a nice guy. Maybe too nice to be Batman. And he leans in, telling her, from now on, I'm gonna put myself first, Batman second. Just before the two of them can kiss, the bat signal lights up in the sky. Dana says that it looks like he has to go, but Terry tells her, no, not this time. I can't lose myself in Batman. Besides, how bad could it really be? Back on the GPD rooftop, Barbara and Karari are backed into the corner of the rooftop. However, over at the Wayne mansion, Bruce and Max discuss Terry's rise as Batman, when Matt runs in shouting that they have a big problem. Everyone heads back to the Batcave, and Matt yells that the bat signal is going off, but Terry isn't picking up his phone. Bruce connects to one of the satellites, and then he zooms in on the GPD rooftop to see Barbara and Karari are at the losing end of their battle. He says, this is really bad. If the League is out in force, the only thing that can stop them is Batman. While Karari tries to fight back, one of the assassins targets Barbara. She quickly jumps back in to help, but the moment that her back is turned, shurikens are thrown into it. Back with Terry, Dana says that it might be important, he might need to go, and Terry tells her, all I want right now is, but before he can finish, his phone goes off, and that's when he sees that it's Bruce, so he ignores it and turns the phone off. Bruce says that he shut his phone off like a 5-year-old. What he needs to understand is that people are dying right now. Up on the rooftop, Barbara is struck with an arrow, and one of the assassins calls out to cut the power to the bat signal. Just then, a sword is swung cutting the cable. Terry looks up at the sky and he says, look, couldn't have been that important, it went out. However, Dana feels her phone go off, and when she looks at it, she tells Terry that it's for him. Terry tells Bruce that he really needs to back off, and then he sees images of Barbara and Karari making their stand. Up on the rooftop, Barbara reaches for the arrow in her back, and Karari rips it out, using it to stab another assassin. Karari then looks at the never-ending group of assassins and says that the League is here because of her, and for that she is sorry. Then another voice says, that makes 2 of us. And a second later, Terry flies in, clearing the path. While Terry begins taking out the assassins, Bruce and Max watch at the Batcave, and Bruce says that that suit that Terry is wearing is a prototype, never to be worn by anyone ever again. More assassins come out. They
use their wings as hands, or as arms. They also use them as wings to fly. Once they open their cloak up, which is what this is. Just pause that. They open their cloak, as I was telling you at the beginning. Their cloak is their wings, or the leathery cloak, flashy leather, like a bat's skin. Is their cloak, but also their wings. And that's the characters. I've just got to sort of flesh out the world now, and I think I'm ready to get rid of all the sketch lines. I'm a little bit worried about this corner piece here, but other than that, we're good. And I can shade. Whether I shade today, I don't know, because it's now 4 o'clock. So we must have been going for an hour or so. Alexa, how long's left on that timer?
You have 12 minutes left on your 15-minute timer.
Okay, so I've got 12 minutes to get this finished, I think. Let's go.
Looks at all of the dead ones, and he says, I'll be back in a bit. First, I need to find out why Karari is even here. Karari hands over a vid, telling Terry that he needs to see this. She's here to make sure that he watches it. The video begins to play, and an image of a Himalayan temple appears, and a voice can be heard rallying their men. The voice tells the League of Assassins that now it is time for them to rise. It is time for one of them to take the magnificent opportunity and exploit it. The more Terry listens, the more he realizes who that voice is. It's Ra's al Ghul, and he's alive. Bruce shouts over the radio that Terry needs to come back with that suit. They can deal with Ra's later. Karari calls her flyer over and says that they must leave now. So Terry radios back that if it's true that Ra's is back, there is no time for him to return. He has to leave. As the flyer approaches, a man calls out to Karari, telling her that she shouldn't have left her craft unguarded. Terry looks up to see a man wielding 2 swords on her ship, and he says, I'm going to assume that that guy's not a friend. Karari tells him no, that's Koro, the demon's right hand. Just then Koro leaps from the flyer at Karari, asking if she really thought that she could betray the League and succeed. The 2 swords slam into the ground, forcing everyone to jump back, and Koro looks at Terry, telling him, it's Batman, or so what he calls himself. Karari lands on her flyer and shouts to Terry to just leave him, but Koro knocks Terry with the butt of his sword. He swings down on Terry, telling him, I cannot believe that you were allowed to defile his image.
I did draw a flower here first. That was the first thing I drew, and I thought, do you know what? Would be a good idea, because they've got no resources at all. They use wind, and they use all of the free energy capacities to generate, because they've got no solar power. So they use wind, and they use other means. If you've got any ideas, or if you know of the tactics or techniques that they use for free energy, and when I say free energy, I mean fuck knows what I mean actually. Oh, what is it called? It's energy. It's not solar power. It's like wind and water, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's who this is. That's what these are. Sorry, they're not flowers, but I thought it was a good effect. Put up like a flower thing, making it look like flowers, and then ends up, closer to get. I'm not going to show if I'm going to repeat. We have found him. Actually, yes, I will. Okay, because it's part of the story. Because they have been looking for the Dark Lord or whatever for a while. And now they finally found him to activate the portal, maybe? And that's what's happening in the VR version. Because they're standing at the portal. I don't know if I should put a smiley face or just have a block. We'll figure that out once the sketching's gone. But that is all the detail that I think I'm going to need to put in for this one. So give that a minute or two to dry. I'll have a look at the comments. Please leave them coming in, guys, as I take a slurp of my tea and let this dry.
Terry jumps up, kicking back
And then we'll
Koro, and then
rub out
he starts to
all
make
of
his way
the
towards
construction
flyer.
lines
Koro
and
looks
see what
up,
we're left
stating,
with.
I will not let you go. And Karari jumps back, stating that the ship is set to autopilot. She'll deal with Koro. The ship's hatch closes on Terry as he shouts, wait, hang on, I'm not ready. Koro then punches through Karari's guard and stabs through her chest. As the sword is pulled out, Barbara shouts that she's going to get help, and Koro says that it's a shame that my master has an urgent need for me, or else I would deal with you as well. Up in the ship, Terry tries breaking the hatch, yelling that he will blast his way out if he has to, and a voice in his head tells him no. We were programmed by Wayne to act as he would. Communication with the wearer can facilitate maximum effectiveness to ensure that Batman succeeds, even if the man inside cannot. Back in the Batcave, Bruce says that he fears that the suit's AI will overwhelm Terry. It is programmed for one thing, that Batman will never fail. Matt asks how bad could it really be, and Bruce explains that during his final days as Batman, he wore that suit. People were dying, the police were beaten, and so was he. The Banes were out of control, and he needed more strength, more speed, so the suit was developed. It was designed to block pain, override cautionary judgment, and make sure that whatever the job was, it got done. Wearing the suit, I was unstoppable. Broken ribs, no problem when you don't feel pain. But then the AI started to take over, and after having 2 cracked vertebrae, you shouldn't even be able to stand. However, the suit put me right back up, and I kept
Just realised I'm done here.
Max says that
These
no
going to be
one should use
mountains,
that thing,
so
and Bruce says, "One
Horizon's
other did
here.
once, but that's in the
Mud,
past."
mud, mud, mud,
Bruce tells
mud.
everyone that he'll stay here and get in contact with Terry. They need to take it easy for now. It's going to be a long night. Meanwhile, over in the Himalayas, Terry flies closer to Roz's temple when the suit's AI indicates that they're getting closer. However, there is ground activity detected. Terry asks what kind, and the suit responds, telling him surface-to-air missile. And a second later, the aircraft is hit with a missile. It explodes, and Terry jumps to the temple's entrance, stating, "Well, it looks like Roz is home." The assassins begin running out, and Terry smiles, stating, "I'm hoping that you have help nearby, because you're going to need it." Back in the mansion, Max and Matt both wait to eat, but that's when Matt notices the Batmobile take off. Inside, Bruce says, "I couldn't let anyone else take this one. The demon is my problem, no one else's." Over at the temple, Terry continues ripping through the crowds until the last one falls, and then a voice calls out, "Welcome, Pretender." Terry turns back to see Roz, and then he jumps right away to beat him down. Roz deflects the attack, asking, "Since when did Batman kill his foes? Is that another indicator that you truly aren't Batman?" The two continue to fight, and then Terry manages to punch away Roz's helmet, and that's when he stops, because the one under that helmet is not Roz at all. It is Damian Wayne. Terry stares for a moment, and the AI says, with the retina scan and voice analysis confirming it, it is Damian Wayne. Terry says, "I've always wondered about you, like how I got the suit and Bruce's own son. One of his Robins didn't." Damian tells him, "The answer is simple, Pretender. I did." The two go back and forth exchanging blows, and Terry asks, if that's the case, what happened? Couldn't live up to the brand? Damian throws one of his swords, telling him, "One of the answers should be clear. People need the suit to be effective, however, I do not." Terry lunges to tackle, but Damian catches him and throws him through a window down into the lower levels of the temple. The suit announces that the opponent is...
Okay, I said I was going to let it dry. I just want to add this in. Looks better, I think.
...accomplished opponent that you will ever... Terry shouts back at the suit,
You want
"Shut
a dirt
up!
hole?
I'm feeling good about this." Damian makes his
I'm
way
trying to
down
make it
and
look
continues
like a
the
dirt
assault.
hole.
The suit says, "For you to prevail, lethal means are required." Meanwhile, just outside, Bruce lands the Batmobile and starts his hike up the mountain, thinking back to the last time that he even saw Damian. It was when Roz was upgrading his technology to stay current with the times. And to stop it, Damian wore the X7 suit. As he watched him leave, Bruce could feel the ferocity in Damian, and it sent chills down his spine. Damian fought for 4 straight hours until almost all of Roz's army was wiped out, and that's when his own son became someone that he didn't recognize. As he came to the scene, he found the tattered remains of the suit, but no Damian. The suit had changed Damian. He had taken up his grandfather's mantle. But before Bruce could dwell any further on what had happened in the past, a voice calls out to him, and Koro tells him, "That's far enough. I'm thankful for this chance to meet you, because now I will do what my father could not." Bruce says, "I'm gonna take a wild guess that your father is..." But before Bruce can finish, Koro punches him, telling him, "My father was Ubu." Back inside, Terry charges back at Damian, and Damian tells him, "There's one more thing that I don't need, and that's weapons. Not when I can use my opponents against him." Damian reaches into the suit's compartments and takes out 2 small explosives, throwing them back at Terry, throwing him outside into the snow. He then jumps down, telling him, "There's one thing that I know about the suit, and that's its vulnerabilities, such as the exact frequency needed to jam the cyberlink." Terry gets up, looking around, noticing several speakers pointed at him, and then a screeching sound blasts into the field. The sound stuns Terry, and Damian moves in, knocking him to the ground, telling him, "I knew Karari would seek you out. I knew how this would play out, and all I wanted most of all was you." Over with Bruce, Koro beats down on him, telling him, "My master said that this was supposed to be a challenge, but there is no concern for that." After picking up and throwing Bruce to the ground, Bruce quickly spins over his back and takes out his grappling gun and fires. The anchor hits Koro in the stomach, knocking the wind out of him, and Bruce then struggles, getting up, telling him, "That's one down." As he gets closer to the temple, he sees a pit, and then his eyes widen. He shouts, "No!" And Damian holds a sword over Terry's body, and he tells him, "Welcome. You're just in time to see the Pretender die, father." Bruce yells for him to stop, so Damian takes the sword and slams it into the ground next to Terry's head. Damian tells Bruce, "You should know that I wouldn't kill a compromised weak opponent, especially one so inferior to me." Bruce asks, "How should I know? The fact that you're here makes me realize that I barely know who you are anymore." Damian looks back, telling him, "Even still, You know a great deal about me. Like the fact that even though I never came for you, I would come for the Pretender. While Bruce and Damien argue, the suit's AI begins to reboot and it tells Terry, the efficiency levels are at 72%. You are clear to engage the enemy. Terry jumps to his feet and he runs tackling Damien, telling him, you must feel good winning round 1. Terry reaches back and throws a handful of batarangs, and with each swing, Damien cuts through them all. As the two clash, Damien tells him, you had the element of surprise. You should have put it to better use, Pretender. Bruce yells, this doesn't need to happen. And Damien tells him, of course it does. In fact, it's long overdue, Father. Terry tries to keep up with Damien's pace, but as they fight, Damien seems to be one step ahead. And after being knocked back down, Terry lays in the snow and Damien tells him, get up. As Terry struggles, the suit pushes him and the AI says, deadly force restrictions are waived. The two spinning blades swing out of Terry's wrist, and he screams, running back into the fight. He recklessly swings at Damien, with Damien blocking each hit, and he says, good, the suit is taking over. That means that I can stop holding back, including utilizing all of my weapons. He calls out, come at me, my old friend, and then there's a rumble, and from the cave, we see the giant red beast Goliath charging out. Punching into Terry from behind, he knocks him to the ground. Terry tries to fight back the giant bat beast, and Damien laughs, telling him, the Pretender left himself open to attack from behind. Truly an inadequate replacement for me. Damien turns back to Bruce and he tells him, the reason I left is because I wanted to. As for returning, I did once, but it was clear that I shouldn't have even bothered. Bruce asks him, because of Terry? I searched for you, but I couldn't. And Damien stops him, telling him, don't lie. The great Batman could find anyone that he wants. You gave up on me. However, I hold no malice. It was just that I had realized that Batman's focus was limited to Gotham. Raz's worldview was more expansive. When Batman worried about the night, Raz focused on the future. Raz had regenerated himself in the Lazarus Pit so often that it could not be done again. His time as an immortal would soon end. I knew that Brother Eye would eventually recognize the...
I'm going to pause that there, guys, because we're coming up to the 50-minute mark on the recording. So I think because we've got most of the inking done, I'm going to leave it here, I think. I know there's going to be a few bits that I'm going to need to add, but I'm going to stare at it for a while until I've figured out what those are. I know there's a little bits like that, and the dots around him, just to make sure that you see these in dirt and things. But there we go. So guys, thank you very much for watching today's live stream. Hopefully I'll be back again tomorrow. Alexa, stop. Hopefully I'll be back. Alexa, stop. Jeez. Hopefully I'll be back again tomorrow. Again, guys, I do apologise that we've got builders at the moment, but we have hit the point where I can record till. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Oh god, I can't record any of that. Oh well, at least I got it on camera. See you later, guys.